guess, a little bio that I stole off your website. And then I guess we could kind of just do like some questions. I
feel important.
I have lots of questions. And I feel like I have so many more questions that I could ask. But I was like, I feel like you're in this field, so you might, you know, just fill in without me asking.
Okay, I hope I can. Let's see.
Okay, ready? Okay.
Ready.
Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Momsley Podcast. This is where we have candid convos about the good, the bad, and the unexpected of motherhood, life, and relationships. It's usually what you're thinking, but you don't necessarily say out loud. I'm your host, Naimiki, and today I have a special guest co-host, Kanisha, who is a certified doula and founder of Heirbloom Co. Say hey.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for listening. I hope I can shed some light on stuff and also learn.
Okay, so before we get into everything, let's do a few icebreaker questions. So the first one is, would you rather be on a survival reality show or a dating game show?
Okay, so I just finished Love is Blind, and this season was a lot sadder than the first.
The couples were so...
Pretty much no one got married.
Ooh.
Yeah. Oh, sorry, you didn't see... Oh, I should have said spoiler alert. I'm so bad. Okay. But you don't know who.
Right.
So
I saw some of it, but I didn't see the last two episodes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, that's the most important. Okay, that's like where they get married. So I won't say any more, but... Based on that, I'm going to have to go on a survival show because I can't deal with heartbreak.
I had a feeling you would say that. I think I would do the survival reality show too because I'm just not cut out for these dating shows and stuff. Like,
No. Like, I wear my heart on my sleeve. Like, if something happens...
I would be devastated.
Like, I'm done. I can't even
and then recover. Like the whole with Love is Blind, like they're dating all these people, and it's like I feel like I always make connections with people so easy. Like it would be so hard for me to just pick one.
Yep. Yeah, and because you didn't see the last two, so I could say this part. I think in that situation it was also hard because you're dating all these people, and if someone does choose you, it'll be hard to think were you
right, like that girl situation.
Choice. And and I was just like,
right,
that's major. Like if you don't feel like the person's first option, you like no matter what you do, that you're always going to end up coming back to that. It could be something so small.
I was literally thinking
something
that,
so
especially with that situation.
does.
I forgot their names, but the black guy and the two girls. I was like, I would have never told her that because now every little thing that you do, she's always going to be like, "Well, I wasn't your first choice." Yeah. That would have been hard for me.
Nope,
me neither.
I ain't built like that.
I'll be a wreck. Okay, here's the next one. Would you rather end hunger or hatred?
Wow. Okay. Okay. Okay.
What I just
Political
say?
Answer. We're gonna end.
It's my dad. I thought I put it on Do Not Disturb. How's he still calling? Oh, because it's my dad. I think I blocked it for him.
I'm gonna do end hatred because if you're kind, you will always share.
That was my thought process.
You know? So I think there you go. So yeah, that's a good political answer. Come on now, put me on. I want to be on like a
you know, when I was looking up icebreaker questions, that was gonna be one of them. Like, what would you do if you were like on Miss World or something like that?
Oh man, I actually tried out. I wanted to be in Miss Black and Gold, which for those of you who don't know is like a pageant at the college level for one of the fraternities, and it was freshman year. I was so hyped, and I was like, I went up into Shine and I said, I want to be on. They were like,
you
not
too
yet.
young?
Slow down. Like, I was really like they were like, not yet. Slow down. But I didn't even know what my talent would be. I didn't know anything else. I was just like, oh my gosh, I've always wanted to do this. And then like life happened. So like every single year after that, I've just never done it. And now, I mean, I'm too old. There's no way. What would I be doing on the stage? All these people like train for this. Just like,
would they even let you do it at this age now, or
are
we too old for that?
I'm sure there's a pageant for everyone. So if I probably looked, it would be like one of those consolation prize pageants where it's like A for effort, and I think I'll probably get worse without doing it. Yeah, it's like, I know y'all didn't think nothing of it.
So here's the final one. Would you rather mentally or physically never age?
Oh my goodness.
It's a tough one.
Okay, yeah. Okay, when you say mentally age, does that mean that we're going towards dementia?
Or when I thought about this question, I thought about like, okay, where I am in my life now, would I want to continue to age mentally? Because like, I don't want to, like, mental health is something that runs in my family, like dementia, Alzheimer's, all that thing. So I'm like, if I can never have to reach that stage, I'll be okay with it.
Yes. Perfect. Yep. Nope. We're going with never physically age. Yes. Never physically age. I could keep my mental status as of today.
So you don't want to age mentally. That's what you meant. Right. Okay.
Correct.
So physically we can get old, but mentally I don't want to get old. And I agree with that.
Yeah. That's going to suck too,
but you know what? I'm going to be looking old with wrinkles and stuff, but mentally I'm going to be all there. So they're not going to be robbing me when I'm 60 collecting Social Security.
Yep. You said you thought of everything.
They're not going to be coming for me talking about sign this check and I don't know what I'm signing.
Oh my goodness. That is so sad to watch. I'd be looking and I'm just like, guys, we have to work through this. Like, how are we still getting
Girl, I don't even understand. At this day and age, I feel like old people should just stop answering the phone after a certain age because y'all are not adequately equipped for it. Don't do it.
Why do you even have a landline anymore? Like, anybody who wants to talk to you, they will visit you.
Right.
Don't worry about it.
And Grandma, I will FaceTime you. There's no need to answer the phone if you see a number calling you.
That too.
And she really, I'm like, Grandma, hang up. Because she really be sitting there talking and I'm having conversations.
Yes, same. And I'm like, they're not your friends. Right. Just let it go.
All right. So as I mentioned before, today we're chatting with Miss Kanisha Friend. And I said that she's a certified doula. And she's also the founder of Heirbloom Co, which was founded, am I saying that right, Heirbloom Co? Okay, which was founded in 2019, and Kanisha's passionate about improving health outcomes for marginalized and at-risk mothers. This passion of hers was bloomed at Syracuse University, where her volunteer work connected her to teen mothers-to-be who lacked information and guidance about pregnancy and birth. And I've been so excited to do this episode. I've been anxiously waiting for it. Since we started this podcast, the one person that I wanted to come on here was Kanisha, because with my last pregnancy, I wanted to hire a doula. But when I started looking into it, it was kind of late and I didn't really know what I was doing. I got overwhelmed and said, bump this. So, yeah. So I just want to thank you for being here with me today and taking the time out to do this with me.
Absolutely. I'm super excited. I'm like, really, you were always supported from the very beginning. Like, you were my 2 followers. Now Mickey was over there. I got to comment on this. Yes. And I was like, yes, okay. People actually respond to like captions. Have a special.
I get it. Because I'm like, we don't post these captions for our health. Like, we need you to like respond to help us, help us get interactions.
Please.
So I try to help. If I can't help financially, I always try to help any other way that I can. You're welcome.
Thank you.
So I guess we should get into what exactly a doula is and like what kind of special trainings you have to go through to become a doula.
Okay, so a doula is a physical and emotional support system for the person giving birth and also the family. So stress on physical and emotional, because when you're giving birth, you're going to already have a medical team, whether that is a midwife, whether that is your OBGYN or your doctor, your like primary care provider. So they're the ones that like look at you from a clinical lens. And what that often leaves out is the whole person. So when you have a doula that's a part of your birth team, it creates like, it fills in those gaps where it's not someone just looking at you like, okay, so you're having a baby on set date in this set way. Your risk factors are this, and it will cost this amount. We say, okay, well, let's consider your environment and how that may impact how you give birth. We consider what does your support system look like so that we can already have systems in place or recommendations in place so that once you give birth, there's no more like mental thought that you have to give towards that. It's like, it's literally, you're just focusing on your baby while everyone else around you has basically an assembly line of once you do this, then we go here, and then we go here, and then you have like this vibrant birth experience. As far as credentials, there's different ways, and I think it's important to say that birth is natural. People have been doing that from the beginning of time. So what that means is, although in like the Western sense, we place such a high importance on education, we also have to recognize that we have like innate qualities and just instinctive qualities that like let us know how to give birth responsibly. So there's two ways that you can become a doula. One is by the way that I did, which is I trained underneath a midwife, and this was in Atlanta, and for the course of a year, I studied for birth, postpartum, and lactation. And then a part of that is, you know, you have to have a set number of clients within each segment to like prove that you have practiced it so that you can then like advertise that you can do these services. The other way, which is becoming way more common specifically because of COVID, and I have to be fair, it is problematic. It honestly is that you're going to have someone who says either A, I gave birth before, or I really love birth and I'm going to go ahead and support this mom. And they may do that after just based on their own like personal experience, or they may have like taking a virtual class, and which is like rampant now. Like everybody's giving a virtual class.
Doesn't that cause
like,
issues with like
everyone
liability and all that though? Or
yeah, it's the thing is, being a doula is not sanctioned by anything. There's no like governing body that says, here's your credentials. So now you're able to do this. I'm able to get mine, like to have like a credential because I trained underneath a midwife. So really it's under her credentials. So if I was to ever do anything wrong, it goes right back to her. But not everyone is like that, because midwives usually don't just go around training doulas. It can be a person who's like a spiritual leader. They train a doula. It could be someone who's a mother and they like have their own experience. They want to train doulas. And it's necessary that more people are trained, but I definitely think there should be like a format, like a standard format across levels for how doulas are trained, or what like the criteria should be.
So do doulas like get, I know like a midwife, they will like sometimes help to like physically deliver babies. Do doulas also do that? Okay. No. So, well, okay, see now this is a whole another stuff. And this is like stuff that I've learned as I've, you know, been in it. So there's like underground doulas. And these are doulas that you're not going to find advertised at all. It's like, you know, someone who knows somebody who knows someone. Actually, upstate New York is really big on this. Where it's, you can, like, if you were to search, usually on Facebook is where they are. If you were to search like free birth, or unassisted birth, you can find a doula who's willing to support you without a medical professional being involved. Which now that is just a whole host of liabilities. But again, not everybody comes with the same experiences or the same like background. So I know me, I would not feel comfortable doing that because I haven't given birth yet. So as much as I could talk about the sensations and stuff like that, I have no idea. So usually like the people who help with unassisted births, they're like, I know how it feels, so I know how to coach you through this. And they would physically help like cut the cord. They would physically do everything that a midwife does. And most people who go for an unassisted birth, they have like a serious mistrust in the medical system. That's the levels that you're going. Because I've given birth 3 times, and I don't think that I'm just going to go find an underground doula to help me deliver any of my babies.
I had someone who asked me, like when we were talking before, and when I was moving to Boston, you know, I'm selling all my stuff on Facebook Marketplace. That is a gem. And this lady came in, we were talking, she found out I'm a doula, And she was like, she does not want anything to do with like the medical system, hospital,
Right.
or even a midwife. And she wanted me to support her with an unassisted birth. And I was asking her like more questions because I have to make sure that
Right.
you're responsible too. Like anyone who, like, I know someone, but I would never give out her name unless I know that you were also being responsible with your body. So she goes and tells me that she has not been to her appointments with her OBGYN. She's not sure when she conceived, so she's not even sure like when the day. So I said, you know what? I don't think I can
Right.
support you in this.
These are
I
like
can't
basic,
do this.
even if you
I
only went
can't.
to one
And
appointment,
even,
like that's usually like stuff you find out during your first appointment. Like, you know, go check and see how far along you are. Is everything
yeah.
okay? And then you proceed however you want to after that.
No, I think she said she went to. She said I'm gonna say she went to 2, but I know there's plenty more than 2.
A whole
No.
lot more than
There's
2.
more than 2 appointments. But yeah, there's more than 2 appointments. I was like, so you went? You just wanted to get to know the person? Is that? I said no, 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 no. Like there are successful unassisted births. They're very much so, but your
Right.
birth team matters so much. You have to know who's in that room. You
And you
have
have to
to.
know what's going on with your body too. Oh,
Yeah.
that is crazy. So what is like a common myth that's associated with being a doula?
Mm. Well, you addressed the first one. That's like literally the first question all the
Yeah.
time. Like, what is the doula? And like, that's like always a question. I'm like, physical and emotional support. um, so I think that is definitely a big myth. Let's see what else. You know what else I always come across? That they're not
Really?
necessary.
I've heard that a lot too,
And
and I always have to be,
yeah,
even though I've
like,
never had one, I'm always like, once you go through labor, you start to realize how important it is to have somebody that's not emotionally attached to the situation.
well, you were searching for a doula. Like, what were some of your things that said, you know what, I think I may
So
want to
with
do
my
it for
first
this
pregnancy,
birth.
as you know, I had my daughter young because we went to Syracuse together. And I got pregnant with her my freshman year. When I got pregnant with her, I had just turned 18. And like, I have never been pregnant before, obviously. And I didn't know what to expect, didn't know what to do. And I felt like at the time I made the decision to stay in Syracuse and go through the pregnancy there and have her there. And my mom and my family, they were all in New York City. So it was like, I was kind of going through the process alone. And well, with her dad, he was there, but he's a man. He doesn't know what's going on. So I feel like it would have been nice to have someone there to like explain to me like what I should be expecting, how my body was going to be changing. I feel like because I was so young, the doctors that I was seeing, they like brushed off any concerns that I had. Like the whole time I was pregnant, I would be throwing up from the time I opened my eyes until I went to sleep at night. Instead of gaining weight throughout my pregnancy, I lost weight throughout my pregnancy. I remember one day I ate a chicken sandwich from McDonald's, and it was like the first time in months that I was able to keep something down, and like nobody was concerned about that. And it was just a struggle for me from the time I found out I was pregnant until she was born. It was just a struggle for me. Even in like the delivery room, I was pushing and she wasn't coming out, so they ended up vacuuming her out of me, and I tore really, really bad. And they gave me stitches. And then postpartum, with recovering from the delivery, the stitches I think my stitches hurt me until after I got pregnant with my second child and I gave birth to him. That's when intercourse stopped hurting. And I think it was due to the fact that they stitched me up too tight when they stitched me. But I didn't know anything. They're telling me whatever, and I'm just going with the flow. Like, her birth was really traumatic for me, to the point where, like, when we moved to Connecticut, when I was giving birth to my second child, I told the doctor, like, this is what I went through with the first one. I'm not trying to go through that again. And thankfully, I had a doctor who was, like, really supportive. She listened to what I wanted and all that stuff, and she made it, like, that was the easiest birth that I had. My third one was the one where I was looking for a doula because I had 2 kids already. I kind of already knew, like, the emotional toll that, like, pregnancy and delivery and all of that has on you. So I didn't, and I feel like with my first 2 pregnancies, I went into like a dark space after giving birth, like with postpartum and all this stuff, like where I was just going through the motions. I wasn't really myself anymore. And I felt like with my third child, I wanted/needed that support after the fact. And when we went to like my first few ultrasound appointments, they were telling us like, oh, the umbilical cord isn't attached to your placenta properly. And I had to do extra ultrasounds just to make sure that like he was growing the way he should be and all this stuff. And I don't know, I just had a gut feeling that like I needed a doula. Like I just felt like that whole pregnancy was just, it was easy, but at the same time it was rough because I was going through things with that pregnancy that I never had to worry about with the first ones. Like I never had to worry about if my baby's growing okay, if the umbilical cord is fine. I think at one point the umbilical cord may have even been wrapped around him. Like I don't even remember. And when I gave birth to him, they came in the room, and every time I would have a contraction, his heart rate would drop to like 30 beats per minute or whatever.
Oh my gosh, This is a lot.
And then with every contraction that would happen, like his heart rate was dropping like 30 something beats per minute or whatever it was. And then my blood pressure was so low to the point that I called my mom on the phone and I was shivering, like couldn't even get words out, just shivering. But I'm like, this is normal. I've been through this before. I'm always cold because, with the anesthesia, they keep the rooms like a refrigerator. So I'm like not thinking anything of it, but coming to find out that my blood pressure was like seriously super low to the point that when it was time for me to push, well, first, before it was even time for me to push, they came in the room. They were like, well, we might have to do an emergency C-section. I never wanted a C-section with any of my kids. It's not for me. I don't want to go through that recovery process at all. They were like, we might have to do a C-section. So my fiance was looking at me. He was like, we're not doing a C-section. He's like, I don't care what they say. Like, it's just not going to happen. And I was like, well, if you don't sign this paperwork and I don't sign this paperwork legally, they're going to do whatever they have to do to get authorization to proceed with it. So I just signed the paperwork. And honestly, all my labor stories, like, I can't go back and really tell you anything that was going on because I was so out of it, just dealing with the pain and like the mental toll. Like I was checked out. So if they told me to sign something, I was signing it. And I felt like in that moment, it would have been nice to have like an advocate that wasn't him because he's acting off emotion and that wasn't me because I'm completely out of it. And when I gave birth to my last child, there was every single doctor that you could think of that was on call that night was in my room with me, including like the pediatricians, the NICU doctors. Everybody was in the room with me. It was just a really traumatic situation. And thankfully that's my last because I won't be having any more after that because I don't know if my body can handle it. But
okay, shout out to you though. Like let's just shout out to you. You handle all of those. Wow. That's really good. I think you answered the question for me, honestly. Like why is the doula necessary? I mean, they're not we're not like magicians or anything like that. But I think it's exactly what you said about like the whole advocacy and really being for the family. Every part of like every family member that's involved, they all want to help. And I think this may like lean a little bit on like my teaching background where it's like everybody get a role. You guys are not all going to have the same role. So like usually I put parents on like postpartum duty and I'm like, this is where you go. You like show up at this point in time. And then like the partner, they're there for during prenatal so that they can perform during delivery. Like usually in the delivery room, my like nature is I like to just be behind the scenes because I know it's such a like vulnerable and it's emotional, it's an intimate moment, like I even try to find times to like leave the room and just like let you guys have your moment, do like practice everything that we practice. You're performing it now, so it's like what you said where like the partner is acting off of emotion naturally, but that also leads to maybe poor decisions. So like having all those ahead of time during the prenatal period, this is not like your doctor's appointments. They're not going to last more than an hour, right? Where they're like going into everything, seeing if you're okay, seeing what your process you want it to be. What do you want it to look like? What do you want it to feel like? That's not their role. And they're not going to spend time doing that. If you have one that does that, I mean, you've hit a gem. Like, make sure you tell everybody in that community because in communities, people are dying.
And I really thought I was going to die giving birth to my last child because that's how traumatic it was. And I feel like even with that, like, I still don't really know the extent of, like, everything that was going on in the room. And I feel like there was probably a lot that they didn't tell me, and they probably will never tell me, because at this point it's been 2 years, so what's the point in bringing it up now? But I feel like there was so much going on. Like, it had to have been really, really serious for them to have all these people in the room with me, because I've never had that before.
Yeah.
But yeah, it would have been nice to have someone there who could kind of explain, like, or even just, you know, like, here's what's happening, instead of like people just shoving papers in my face, like, here, sign this.
Okay, because they're out for them, you know, like, I don't hate doctors, but like, it's a business. If you walk into that like space, even with midwives too, like home births are not off limits. But like, if you walk into that space and you understand, like, oh, this is a business for them and it's a transaction, you know how to move. Like, you know what information you need to get from them, because at this point they're trying to get everything from you so that they can like kind of, you know, CYA. And it's like, nope, not today, not with this Black woman. It's not happening.
Right. Well, my second was my easiest pregnancy, my easiest delivery. The doctor listened to what I wanted. She helped make the process easier. Like, she was giving Brandon tips on like how to like ease my contractions. Like, it was great.
That's nice.
And I tried to get her with my third one, but she had moved and she was only doing what's it called? She was still at the same practice, but she was only doing the word has left me, but she was only doing like complicated pregnancies, like if you had high risk. There you go.
Like high risk.
Yeah, but I should have told her I was high risk, so she could have taken me. Like, sis, this is what they're telling me. Consider it high risk and take me.
Yeah, that's good. That's really good to have someone like that.
She was great. She was amazing.
Shout out to her.
Okay, so let's get into like what Heirbloom Co is and what services and products you offer and where you're based out of.
Okay, so Heirbloom Co is a practice that has doulas and health providers in order to like streamline the process of crafting the perfect birth team. So along with doulas, there are Reiki healers, acupuncturists, we have Webster chiropractors, we have postpartum doulas, and we also have yoga now. And that's our service part of it, dealing from pregnancy all the way to postpartum. And then as far as products, we have 3 major products. One is our anti-tear birth oil.
I needed that all 3 times.
And then we have the foam. So after birth, so there's this thing called peri pads. Give me 1 second. Can you pause? I need to edit this. What is the name of it?
It's like the...
No, it's... What is it called? It's not called... It's... Oh, Patsicle. That's the word. Okay, I'm ready now. And then there's the second one, which is a solution for creating time-consuming padsicles. So instead of doing that, you just have a pad, you use our foam, you stick it in the freezer, you take it out, boom. So what it does is it helps soothe that perineum area. And then, so that's if you have a vaginal birth. Then we have lactation cookies. So our lactation cookies are made with 6 milk boosting ingredients in order to increase both quality and quantity of milk production. And so our overall goal, fingers crossed for the end of 2022, is moving from solely being based in Houston to then launching a directory where these services are available across the country.
I considered having one more kid just so you could be my doula.
Come on, okay.
But I was also like slightly postpartum, so I may not have been in my right mind.
Just slow down there.
That is great. I love to hear. How does like the lactation cookies work? Because like I always hear like one of the myths with like breastfeeding is like, oh, you can't eat something that's gonna, help you.
Yeah, that's a perfect one. That's another myth too, which I think it's. I don't think it makes any sense. I don't like that argument, because I'm like, what is it based off of? So you have one side that's saying food cannot help you increase your milk production. It's all about supply and demand. So if you just increase like skin to skin, you're going to be able to produce more milk, which is yes, that definitely works. However, there are a host of other things at play. Like just putting a baby on your skin 24 hours a day, if that's even possible, you're not
Right.
just going to have milk the next day. The other thing is, we trust food in all other
Except
aspects of our
breastfeeding.
life. When you are sick, yeah, when you're sick, you say, okay, you need more vitamin C, so eat these foods. When you're dealing with eyesight, you know to eat these foods. Like you're dealing with vitamins in every other aspect in order to optimize your health. When it comes to breastfeeding, you're telling me they don't work. They just don't work. And so I don't get it. I think, and a lot of moms, I think, okay, well, this is also another thing. So sugar content is important and it is detrimental to like milk production. So like when I make my cookies, I don't use like additive sugar. Like I use sugar alternatives. So for me, that is not going to tell you, but I
Yeah.
use like a host of other sugar alternatives. And so, and then I also have like oatmeal in there. I have coconut, toasted coconut. And these are like real ingredients, like the real raw ingredients. Instead of like buying everything that's like heavily processed, you make it from this raw. So you're not like losing all of that healthy content and stuff. But yeah, I hear that all the time. And if I'm being honest, I hear it mostly from disgruntled mothers who weren't able to produce enough milk, or I'm going to hear it from lactation consultants who are like, because if you think about it, again, it's
Right.
that whole compete thing. If you're like, oh, we have lactation cookies, and why would I
Right.
need to book your services? So I just like, you got to tune that out. Honestly, you find what works for you. Cookies may not work for everybody. I'm not going to lie, mine's do. But for other people, it may be like skin to skin and you want to do power pumping. For other people, that's not actually like time. That's time consuming. It's not
Right.
feasible with a work schedule. Like you have to find
Right.
what works with your
And I'm
life.
always here. If food is going to make my life easier, I'm going to take the food option.
Yeah.
So, since we've talked about that, what is like one of the biggest challenges you're facing in your role as a doula and trying to run this company?
Oh, I need a partner. I need a
I hear
partner
that.
so bad. I'm like, I think that, yeah, yeah, we were talking about this like that. I don't want to say work-life balance. Sorry, I think this moved. I don't want to say work-life balance because I think that cheapens it a bit. Like just finding overall balance. These are all things that we enjoy. We just want to figure out how to do it
Right.
effectively and efficiently. I just started
Oh,
nursing
nice.
school, and I want to. Yeah, I said, okay, I really love being a doula. Now, how else can I infiltrate the system? So I'm going to go to the clinical side too. So now I can be both. What's like if you have a nurse that's also a doula, boom. So I really want to work in maternity, and it's hard, to try to manage school and then like, ooh, I see this business being. It started from a solo practice, just me on my own, and just being a doula in Houston. And then when the pandemic hit, I had to really shift how I'm going to support moms. Because at that point, when the pandemic hit, I still had clients, but I wasn't able to support them in person. So that's where I came up with these products, and it's kind of like doula in a box. So we have your anti-tear oil, we have your foam recovery, we have your lactation cookies, and then I had virtual visits. But now I'm at a place where if moms who need support are not only in Houston. Obviously that's nationwide. So how else can I be in a position where I can support moms nationwide with all these services? And the honest to God truth is I can't do it alone. Like it's hard trying to be in school, manage a page, deal with engagement, deal with clients, getting clients, making products, shipping products. Ooh, I want to have this awesome website that's a directory.
Yeah.
I cannot do it. And I really feel it based on energy, as much as people can tout like what their credentials are, I need to make sure that you're like married to this work,
Right.
that you actually care about it. The skills can come. Skills will always come. This is a people-based business. Like if you're a good people person,
Right.
you can
I
work.
always wanted to get into like the home, especially after having my first child. I was like, really, like anytime anybody asked me anything about pregnancy, delivery, like I would talk to you. I would talk your ear off. Like I want to talk about it for hours, but I just can't. But now that I know
I
that
love
doulas
that.
don't really have to deliver babies, I'm like, okay, that's not so bad. But like, I can't be a midwife or none of that because I can't do blood and I can't do smells. Like, I would be in the room like gagging. Like, I was giving birth to when I was giving birth to my last child, I was like, what is that? I was like, you smell that? And Brandon was like, what? It smells like blood. I'm like, it smells awful in here. Like, they're going to think I stink.
I know. Then what you mean it's blood? Damn, all right, Brandon
Right?
about to
He's
be
like,
a
it's
doula.
just blood.
Find
It just
out.
smells like blood. And I'm
Plot
over here
twist.
freaking out like, no, but it smells bad. Right. But I feel like I'm I need to be like Cardi B, where, you know, like she has that show when she goes and tries different careers and all that stuff. Like, I would love to be that kind of person because that's how I am. Like, I just want to try something
That'll be
once.
fun.
But
Yeah.
I don't know if I have
Okay, that was nice.
I really don't have the time to commit to anything else, but I think it's so interesting. Like, I just love all things maternity.
Noted. I'm just saying. I'm just saying, come over,
You need
come
help
on.
once in a while. I don't mind. You need to give a little pep talk. I'll give a
Okay.
little pep talk.
All right.
Labor's not that bad.
This is recorded, so don't
Right.
worry, I won't forget.
You actually just brought this up a little bit, but in your opinion, what is the most important personality trait / strength that someone would need to work in this industry in order to be successful?
You have to be a people person. You have to. Because, and it takes a lot out of you. Because when you have, first of all, people come with different stories. Like, if you were to come in as a client, your background and what you've experienced and what you already know, as a doula, you have to take that into account. Some days when you're working with a mom, you're going to be a teacher, and other days you're going to be a student, and you have to have enough humility to just sit through conversations and probably just listen most of the time. Then the other thing that I think was hard. This was one client I had. She was a teen mom. She didn't have support of her family, and she was also homeless. So it was like, as a doula, you kind of I couldn't just say, okay, I'm coming here today dealing with birth and just working you through like pregnancy, because like postpartum care, as much as it's for the baby, it ended up also being for her, because I had to figure out, okay, stability, what resources can I give her? If she's pregnant and she's homeless, she's not going to be able to be researching on the computer, finding everything. So I just had to extend myself in that way. So you have to just love supporting people, and like thoroughly, like not just supporting you and like, hey, I'm here with you for like 6 to 9 p.m. and this is what I can do once 9 p.m. is off. No, the minute that mom gets to like month 7, you getting more frequent texts.
Every little pain that hit you.
Like, is this normal? Yeah. You said, oh, I felt something. And so now I just tell her, I say, okay, write down the time, and then we can see like frequency, because then you should be worried. But if it's like one pain, usually you don't have to worry too much.
So,
I think that helps.
So needless to say, like,
yeah,
you're on the clock 24/7.
Yeah.
See, my phone goes on Do Not Disturb after certain hours, so I know that won't work for me.
No, but here's the thing. So this is like where that partner is so clutch, because when you go to the prenatal meetings, I prep that partner and I make sure like they got what they need to understand. So all those calls and texts, it's like diminished. I may get like a few still, but usually he or she's gonna be able to answer it. And that just makes my life easier too. And then like the mom is feel like, oh my god, I was paying attention, and then boom, intimacy.
Right. And once the intimacy is going throughout the pregnancy, that helps relieves a whole lot of stress.
Yep. Yes.
On both sides. So who has been like your most important professional mentor? I know you mentioned that you trained under a doula. Was it a doula? Yeah. A midwife, that's what it was.
A midwife. You know, though, it wasn't her. She was awesome, but when I moved from Maryland to Houston in 2019, and you know, this is me with my training, and I'm like, okay, I'm ready to get started, see what's in Houston, and it was hard because I was messaging a lot. Okay, backtrack. Houston, as far as like the doula community, very
That
white.
was my problem too when I was looking for a doula, and kind of why I gave up, because I'm like, these people, I cannot relate. I would love to have a black doula, and it was so hard, and because I was looking at the last minute,
and
it was not happening.
It wasn't happening. It's which is why I think like when we were talking about like the different way that you can be a doula, like it's either being credentialed or like just based on experience. So a lot of people of color, they end up becoming doulas, and it may not always be through the credentialed option. And it's like, but we need you. So it's like, you know, two sides. So yeah, when I came to Houston, I had to reach out. I just wanted to reach out to different doulas just so I could shadow them, like get a lay of the land, like what's the demographic, that whole thing. Crickets. Either it'll be, oh, okay, that's really amazing for you. Hang up the phone, no call back, no email back. Don't hear from them at all. Like, and I was just like, you know, I didn't immediately put this on racism or anything like that, but I was like,
especially out in Houston, you don't be hearing
that. Like something's there. Yeah. I said, something don't feel right. And then there was this one lady who was white, and she invited me to her home. Okay, stranger danger. I was scared, and I did tell everybody. I texted everybody the address. Like, boom, I'm over here. This is what the house looked like. And when I went to her house, she invited me over to her house because she works out of her house. So she, like, the way her house is set up, like the very, as soon as you walk in, it's kind of like a living room, but she set up like a waiting area. Like, it legit looks like a doctor's office. And it looks really good. And that's also a place where she could put, for people who don't have enough space in their home to have a home birth, she would just have them there. And so that's really nice. And so she was showing me how she like sets it up and stuff. And then she ended up giving me all these books so I could read more on like how to provide care. She then started sending me different clients. She always checks in on me. Still to this day, she just says, hey, she engages with my posts. Really, really awesome mentor. And now that I'm like in the Houston community and I learn more doulas, the next phase of that is it's kind of like real estate, where there's like, once you become a realtor, your next step is you want to get in with like developers. So you're not like working around the clock. So the next step is you want to get in with midwives, because people who want birth, they're going to go directly to a midwife first. And that's where I'm at now. It's not the easiest journey. And, you know, I had like one midwife basically, you know, I asked her, I turned the question back on her. I was like, so you support clients who are people of color? And she's like, yeah. And I said, okay, so what does your support system for them look like?
Right.
Who's on your team? And she goes, well, you know, we don't have any people of color doulas, but I mean, I'm an ally and I think I'm doing great in what I do. And I was just like, I'm sure you are. Would it be better, instead of having to like give a disclaimer, that instead you just have the person that's present? And she was like, I don't know, I have to think about that. And I was like, yeah, what's there to think about? You know, like what is this? What? And so that's where this whole like push for my website is like really coming. I just have a directory, it puts that power in other people's hands. Like, moms don't need to like second guess or think about who's in their room. Like, all those energies, it comes in waves. Like, when you're at your most vulnerable moment and you're looking at the way that someone looks at you, that's going to matter.
It sure is. Representation matters in all fields. I'm so glad that like you pushed through and you know, kept going, because all those no phone calls and people not whatever, it could have discouraged you from even wanting to continue. But I'm so happy that like everything is like working out for you, and like that one person gave you that one chance that you needed.
Maybe we'll text her after this.
Because look at you now, and I think you're doing a great job from what I see on it. I've been looking at your Instagram posts like, oh girl, look at this. This is so cute. The thought and creativity that went into this. So did you always want to be a doula? Like, when you started school, like, was this the thing you wanted to do? Because I was trying to think, like, I don't remember if Kanisha was in school for this when I met her.
I don't know what I'm doing. It's like, so when I was in school at Syracuse, I started off in physical therapy, And it got to the second year, and it just wasn't working out for me. Like, I mean, I love physical therapy. Physical therapy did not love me. Like it, like A&P, it just was not clicking. And I remember thinking, like, every time I took the test, I passed that. They were like, no, you
Wow.
didn't. And so it was like, yeah, it didn't work until the point where it was just like, had I pushed myself more and retook the class, sure, I would have passed. But then I thought to myself, but you still also have to take that, like, the national boards test. And I was like, yeah,
Right. You don't want to be paying money to be passing by the skin of your teeth.
Right. And then, and so I switched over to education, because at that point, it's just the way that the school worked, right? Like, you're not able to switch into, like, different schools at some point. Because at some point, it depends on your GPA, and A&P, messed me up. So education it was. And so I went into education, and I was in my second year teaching, and I was like, oh my God, I'm done. I don't want to do this anymore. Like, I don't like it. I don't feel fulfilled. I can't. And again, I always think maybe this is probably a bad habit, but I always think of the future. I'm like, can I do this for 30 years?
I think the same way. Like, if I can't see myself doing this for the rest of my life, it's not happening. Right.
It's like, it's a waste of time. I'm like, is it? I don't know. But that was my thought. I was like, can't do it for 30 years, so let me leave in year 2. So I remember I was, like, crying in my mom's house. And my mom is a nurse. She works in geriatrics, like, for my whole life. And so I never looked at nursing because, like, I don't care about geriatrics. And that was my only viewpoint of it. And she was like, I told you to become a nurse. And I was like, oh my gosh, you did? Like, let me just go look into it. And at that point, I was, like, finishing up my master's in education. And the thought of being in school again was, yeah, I was like, I don't know if I could do that. So, like, what ways can I, like, work with this population but not go to school forever? And that's how I found out about a doula. And so just kept going straight, just kept researching and going straight for it. And then I found, like, someone that I liked, and I said, okay, let me do it. And so now mind you, I'm still teaching. I was still teaching up until, like, 2021.
Oh, wow.
What is that, last year? Wow. I was still teaching until last year. Yeah. But because the school went virtual for, like, since 2020, so that was like 2 years, or a year and a half, I was able to take on more clients. So after school, I would go do postpartum doula. And it got to a point where I was so over teaching, my like, I was like, it got to that point. I was literally in the delivery room. She was like, oh no, please keep teaching the kids, teach the kids. And I was like, okay, guys. And it was that day. And
this
I
is
said,
it.
we're done with this. Yeah. And then I went to nursing.
That is great. In nursing school. I honestly thought, like, you stopped teaching, like, a while ago. I did not know that you were teaching all through the pandemic.
Oh, ain't no way I was giving up that job. I said virtual?
Of course.
I could do that.
Don't gotta.
I was really going to quit, and then I said, pandemic? Oh, let me just sit here.
So you're in nursing school and being a doula full-time now?
No, I can't even be a doula. I can't even manage it. Like, during breaks, I would do, because birth is so spontaneous, I can never, like, just say, yeah, I'll be there, or, like, take on a client. I'll feel terrible if I can't come. So during breaks, I do postpartum doula because it's, like, set hours. But then during the year, it's mostly, my focus is mostly on products, but then I have 3 doulas in Houston. So I still, like, say, doula in Houston, and then if I get a client, I just send it to them, and then, commission for me.
I mean, that's also a good way to go. You get a little side money from, your little commission piece.
Okay.
So how many births have you actually attended?
21.
Oh my gosh, 21. That is a lot.
Yeah.
In the grand scheme of, like, how long you've been 21. Doing this, in the short period of time that you've been doing this, that's a lot.
I'm, like, really happy. I was like, the pandemic was crazy. Texas was crazy. Like, as far as, like, their requirements, and what really helped me get those clients during the pandemic was because I had credentials. So they were doing this thing where they were like, okay, first it was no support persons. Right. Then it was one support person. And when we did like that one support person, the bonus was if they were a doula, but they had to have their credentials. And so most doulas don't really go that route about having their credentials. But because I did, I was able to. So I ended up getting a lot of clients that way because either their main doula was not able to go, so then I had to come in.
So with that support person, is that you or the husband, or it's you plus the husband?
No.
Oh, okay.
It would be me.
When I kept hearing that during the pandemic, I kept thinking like, so people got to choose between their doula and their husband being in the room.
Oh my, yeah, that's said. No, I'd be like, I'm out. I don't even want to have this conversation. I don't even want.
I know some of the husbands would probably gladly step to the side, like, "Nah, you got this. call me when the baby's here."
So yeah, I was gonna say anyway.
So what is like? How does someone go about finding a doula? Like when I was doing it, I tried to do like Google searches, and it didn't return it.
This is good information for me. This is because I'm still thinking. I'm like, how does someone search for a doula? Because that would help me with my marketing. That would just make everything a whole lot easier. But Facebook is honestly where I find most moms. So that's where I am. And you know what the other really big thing is? A lot of moms are in mom groups on Facebook. So it's like those born in December, born in November. Like there's a mom group for every single month for every single year. There's probably one.
It reminds me of like the days when I was on Baby Center and we would have like our birth year and then birth month groups and then all this stuff on there. Baby Center is a good app. I think people still use that. Okay. And they have like you know how Facebook has groups? Well, Baby Center has groups, and like you could talk to different people on there. People be spilling their beans like they do on Facebook.
Okay, I'm joining right after. That's where you find a doula, and like there's like find a doula groups, find a black doula groups, and find a Christian doula. And you just go on there and you just say, "This is my." If it's you're a first time mom, if you're trying to have a VBAC, and then like what your specifics are. So if you want someone who does not pressure about vaccinations, there's literally a doula for everyone. You're gonna find your
I didn't think about looking at any of those groups. I was mostly trying to like Google like who would come up in my area. But I kind of like the fact that you have your Instagram page, because I've been starting to use like TikTok and Instagram more than I use Google. Like if I need something, I'm going to search it there before I go on Google. Because one, the answer is going to be a lot shorter versus me trying to Google it. It gets right to the point because they got to get to the point in so many seconds or minutes. And I love the fact that like, I love the fact that like on your Instagram, like it's so personable. Like you post pictures of yourself and like all this stuff. Like I want to know who I'm talking to, who I'm working with, and like.
Thank you. That was such a work. That was a work in progress. I was like, I don't know. I was like shy, like not just like I'm a shy person, but just.
I know what you mean, because that's how I am with my social media pages. Like I'd be scared to post on like the podcast page or like my craft page because I'm like, I don't really want to put myself out there like that. But you have to. Yeah. People want to connect on like a professional level and a personal level. They want to know that you're also human. Yeah.
Yeah, that part. I stopped like trying to edit everything. Now I'm just like record it. Post it.
Yeah, people want to see that you're relatable, and I feel like that's a lot of like people on the internet. Like everything is to perfection. It's like, do you make mistakes too?
Yeah. It's like, look, you're not getting that.
I need to get that in my head. Like everything does not need to be perfect. Just go with the flow.
Yeah. That's who I am.
So I know you said that you mentioned like you help with postpartum recovery and all that stuff right now. I always wondered like how long is postpartum? Like how long is that recovery process? Is it like, oh, my baby's a year old now, I don't need postpartum help anymore? Like how does that work?
Honestly, it's gonna be forever. Like there is no set time limit on it, because one thing which is why I added the Reiki healing as part of the services, and there's no time limit on when you can use that service that you get as part of the package, because most people, in general, in any situation, they don't reflect often, and they don't reflect thoroughly. Now, when you add in birth into the mix of that,
Mm-hmm.
and you're bringing a new life, everything's going to change. No matter if you're bringing in one baby, two babies, your life is going to change. No matter if you've been a mom like 2 times before, whatever. And so if you don't like rectify those emotions, it's hard to move forward. And like those little habits are going to keep forming and keep forming. So postpartum, it can last forever. I think the point about postpartum is not necessarily maybe how long it lasts, but like what happens in each stage. So I don't think, as far as recovery should go, it should extend past the year. I think if you are not healed physically and emotionally past a year, you got to get extended help. Like you got to get professional help for that. But yeah,
that is good to know, because I saw a post, I think it was on TikTok, and someone was like how they just had a baby, and like people were commenting, they're like, yeah, my kid is 18 and I still haven't recovered. And I was like, I can relate, because my oldest is she's gonna be 9 this year, and like I still feel like I have not recovered from having her, and I've had 2 since then. And like my youngest, he just turned 2 in October, but it's like there's some days where it's so rough, and I'm like, it feels like the newborn stage all over again, where you have like certain thoughts in your head, or like you're just not getting enough sleep, and it's just like I have to just take a breather. It's rough out here. Girl,
I can't believe she's 9. I can't believe
she'll be 9 in October, and the thought of her like being this is gonna be her last year in the single digits, like. But then I'm like, I'm still young, because I had her so young, so I don't feel old.
Okay, period. Okay, you hit that there. Yeah, I don't know. The moms that I've helped, and usually the moms that end up getting doulas are the ones who have had some sort of traumatic birth, or moms who have heard of a traumatic birth and they really, really want to make sure that they avoid it. Like those are the people that I get, and it's like, you won't even see my value as a doula until you understand what your actual needs are. And you won't understand what your needs are until like you do that reflection on your past birth. So yeah, I think that's like super important. Like heal, but also know when a stage has gone on too long and you need professional help.
So, where do you see yourself professionally in like the next 5 years? Like we know you're in nursing school now. Like, so in the next 5 years, where do you see yourself going with all of this?
Oh, my favorite, like the thoughts that like in my mind 3 a.m. in the morning. 5 years from now, so I'm in an accelerated program that would allow me to get my nursing and then nurse practitioner. So I'm gonna become a nurse practitioner in women's health. And so my goal is to be a primary care provider. And I'm like envisioning like a private practice that has the products, that has like community sessions, speakers are coming, and yes, you're gonna get like all that clinical community care, but we're doing yes, all of that, all in one. You walk in, you're gonna meet people who are also moms who are giving birth around the same time as you. You have like that support system. You have like sexual health, wellness.
I'd love to hear about it. I can't wait to see it. I think that's going to be awesome. I'm so excited.
Thank you.
All right. I think that's about all the questions that I had. I'm trying to think if there's anything that we should discuss that we didn't.
I don't know, that's really therapeutic for me. I'm here thinking all these questions.
I'm so excited.
I'm here thinking of all these questions. That's so good.
I think this was great because we're at almost an hour. All right, then I guess I'll just wrap it up. This was this was fun. I enjoyed this. Like, I could sit here and talk to you about this for like hours. But I just heard my son calling me, "Mommy, are you done yet?"
He's like,
"Hello." About me up here. Yes, this was so good. And I just want to thank you again for coming and chatting with me and taking time out of your busy schedule. This was awesome. You're
Thank you for
welcome.
inviting
So
me.
before we go, I'm going to leave everyone with our weekly mantra. And this week's mantra is, I am enough. Who I am is enough. What I do is enough. And what I have is enough. Read it one more time. I am enough. Who I am is enough. What I do is enough. And what I have is enough. And I just want to thank you all for listening to another episode of Momsy Podcast. Remember to stay updated on all things Momsy. Make sure you're following us on your favorite podcast app. If you're listening on Apple Podcasts, make sure you leave a rating and review. Also, you can follow us on Instagram at Momsly Podcast. That's MOMSLYPODCAST. And subscribe to our YouTube at Momsy Podcast. Kanisha, where can our listeners find you?
You could find us on Instagram at HEIRBLOOMCO. So that's Heirbloom Co. And the website is there. I'm going to
link it in the description also. And on that note, we will chat with you all next Wednesday. Bye.